Come on, Annie. Let's go to the movies.
This is the Cinereelists episode 615. My name is Kyle.
My name is James.
And my name is Zach.
And we're here to talk movies, movie lists, and movie obsession for the next hour or so. Hey, and Merry Christmas also, guys.
Thank you.
Or I guess
Thank
it's
you, man.
a week past. Maybe it's Happy New Year now.
Yeah, it's Happy New Year. They'll be listening to this on New Year's Day.
Okay, so then it's Happy New Year from the past to your future, which is now your present.
Right. Welcome to 2024. Hopefully this is
Yes.
the first thing you're listening to. Zach is going to take his Christmas lights down because Christmas is over. There we go.
And put your New Year's lights up, please.
He doesn't have New Year's lights.
Do you guys put lights up for the holidays?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zach?
I put him.
Oh, of course.
And then how long do they stay up? Like, what is the
New Year's
when
Day.
do you say no? This is they come down now.
New Year's Day.
New Year's Day.
That's the right day to take them down.
Okay.
Yeah, I think any time in December is fair game for Christmas lights.
To take
you
them
guys-
down?
No, to have them up.
Right.
But in
Yeah.
January, you should not have them up anymore.
By
Probably
like
not.
New Year's night, the night of New Year's Day, they should not be up anymore, or at least had them turned off.
Right. Yes. Okay. Do you guys know how long I leave mine turned on?
I have no
No.
clue.
Martin
24/7?
Luther King Day.
Why?
Why is that?
Well,
Laziness,
no, I can easily just turn them off. Like they're plugged in.
right?
One, so I live in a cold climate in the winter, so I'm not taking them down in the middle of December. Like they stay on the roof until like March or April.
Right. But didn't you put them up there in a cold climate?
Yeah.
I usually put them up before Thanksgiving, but I don't plug them in. Yeah, like
Okay.
I'll put them up in like early November when it's still
Sure.
kind of warm outside because
So
All
you're
right.
definitely doing it wrong.
it's cold. I don't want to be out there in. Okay, like you need, at least for me, like you need a lot of finger dexterity to put them up because I'm clipping them like to the roof and all this stuff. I'm not gonna do that in gloves because I don't have the dexterity. And if I do it I do it with bare hands. And if it's cold, I don't want to be doing that in the cold. So like before November, if it's a nice like Saturday, I'll put the lights up. I don't turn them on though. After Thanksgiving, we turn them on. And then just because at least here it's dark so early, I leave them turned on until the end of January. Then I turn them off. And then sometime in April, I'll turn them down. So I would say the
Are
lights
you the
on
last person in your neighborhood to have them on?
I'm one of the last, maybe not the last. There's definitely like a little bit of chicken going on with me and some of my neighbors.
So you have Christmas lights on your house 6 months out of the year.
It's close to 6 months out of the year. Yes, I was just doing the
and
math.
yet you claim you're not doing it wrong.
Why not just never take them down and just
Because-
don't turn them on, and then you don't have to worry about it?
Well, two reasons. Okay, one, that's just tacky.
Okay.
And two, like any breakage, because we also have trees and limbs fall and things like that. And so I don't want them having any more opportunity to break than they already have.
Yeah, lots of limbs fall in the middle of summer. You're right. It's much
Oh.
safer to have them up during winter. And
Oh, we
fall.
can talk about the river birches and all the limbs that they drop. But I think Arbor Talk is for a different podcast. So.
Yeah, for sure. That's our side podcast, Kyle. Arbor Talk. Someday we'll let Zach on it.
I mean, Zach needs to
Guys,
pass the tree test first before he can join.
Arborealists is a great name.
But
I agree.
it's pronounced Borealists, though.
Yeah.
I need to know though, like, is it okay for Kyle to have Christmas lights lit through January?
No.
Come on. I think you can get away with like a week, maybe two. You could be like, I was out of town, and nobody will, be mad at you. But come on. By the time your February 1 is rolling around,
No,
you've pushed the limit.
that's why Martin Luther King Day is a great day to remember because it's always like that month. It's always a Monday. It's like the last Monday in January.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, oh, Martin Luther King Day's here. Go unplug him from the outside socket. And
I just don't like the optics of like that's the day the lights go out at your house.
It's only because it's a great reminder that January is coming to a close.
Okay. Has nothing to do with the actually what that day represents.
No, and actually, It's out of respect that I turn the lights off. It's like a moment of silence, a moment of darkness for respect. This is awful.
For Martin Luther King's birthday.
Well,
I don't think they ask for a moment of silence on somebody's birthday.
I say when it's an assassinated civil rights leader, you could have a moment of silence on the day that we celebrate him.
Is it technically for his birthday, or is it just a day to celebrate him? Because it moves around, right? So it can't be.
Well, it's always like the final Monday of the month of January.
Right. So it's not his birthday.
It's not his birthday. I don't know. Maybe his birthday is in late January.
Huh.
January 15th.
Okay. So, and it may not be the final Monday in January either. I'm making that up. It's a Monday in January.
But it's always a Monday. It's not his actual birthday.
No, it's
unless
always
it just
a Monday.
happens to fall on his birthday.
Let's see. This year, Martin Luther King. Oh, so yeah, Martin Luther King Day is the 15th. So my lights will be on for like 2 more weeks.
I mean, it's not the crime
2
of the
weeks,
century,
James.
but I also think generally after the first of the year, you're supposed to at least turn off your lights at minimum.
Does it get dark at 4:30 where you live?
No, but it gets dark at like 5:30-ish. I mean, it's only an hour difference. Still pretty early.
I'm just trying to bring a little joy to the world for a couple more weeks.
Well, you're doing the opposite.
All right. Speaking of bringing joy to the world, we watched a movie this week and we're going to discuss it. Did it bring joy to the world? We'll find out. After we remind you guys, there's a video version of this podcast on YouTube. Go check it out. youtube.com/the @ Cinereelists. REEL with an S on the end. You could also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Support the podcast, get extra after show audio amongst other Cinerealist swag. You could also leave us an Apple podcast review. We'd appreciate that. 5 stars only, or send us an email. Let us know if Kyle is perfectly fine leaving his lights on until Martin Luther King Day.
We can just say mid-January, guys.
Martin Luther King Day. I like it being Martin Luther King Day. That's better. Or whether he should at least turn them off after New Year's, roughly.
Well, I like that he leaves them on the house until late April.
Right.
That's my favorite part.
I mean,
It's
that
cold.
I can kind of understand. I would
maybe
still
late
just,
April is maybe like it's sometime in March. Whenever it's starting to get a little warmer outside and I want to deal with, again, it's the finger dexterity. That's what it comes down to.
They make fingerless gloves.
Well, what's
Get
the
some of those.
point?
It
My
keeps most of
fingers
your
are still
hand
cold.
Keeps everything but your fingers warm.
Yeah, so now I got cold fingers either way.
Regardless, let us know what you think about Kyle's lighting habits. And heyguys at cinereelist.com is the address for that. With all that said, it's time to talk Rebel Moon Long Dash Part 1: A Child of Fire. You guys
It's called
ready?
an M dash.
Is it called an M dash?
Yeah.
The longer ones?
Yeah.
All right. I have been corrected.
And I think it's pronounced Rebel Moon.
I'm sure it is. Rebel Moon is on Netflix now. We're going to get into it right after this clip.
We're here from a small village, and we're looking to hire some fighters to train and protect us against a force from the Mother World.
I'm no friend of the realm. That's well known. And I'd gladly fight with you, but I have a debt on my name, and I honor my debts.
What's he owe you?
300,000 dirhams ought to cover any inconvenience I've suffered.
Ah, you bollocks.
We don't have that kind of money.
No money. Well, I do love to gamble.
Here we go.
What's the bet?
If Tarek can break that creature out there, his debts are squared with me. But if you don't write him, you all get a chain and a shackle. That's the deal.
That was Rebel Moon, M Dash, Part 1: A Child of Fire, a 2023 American space opera directed by,
Space opera.
Oh my goodness.
according to Wikipedia, it's a 2003 American space opera.
Did Zack Snyder write this Wikipedia entry?
Directed by Zack
on.
Snyder.
What?
Based on a story that Zack Snyder conceived. This movie stars Sophia Boutella, Digimon Hansu, Ed Skrein, Mikhail Husman,
I
Dua
think it's
Bay,
Michael.
Michiel? Michiel? Mikhail?
Yeah, Michiel. I thought it might be a
Yeah.
typo. I don't think Zack Snyder knows how to spell people's names.
I don't know. Well, this is
What
Wikipedia.
does IMDb say?
Ray Fisher, Charlie Hunnam, and Anthony Hopkins, amongst others. The official IMDb plot synopsis for Rebel Moon is when a peaceful settlement on the edge of a distant moon finds itself threatened by the armies of a tyrannical ruling force, a mysterious stranger living among its villagers become their best hope for survival. All right.
James, could you read the entire title to this movie again with all the punctuation?
Rebel Moon M dash part 1 : A Child of Fire.
It's not. Oh, really? It's not Rebel Moon : part 1 M dash Child of Fire?
Not according to Wikipedia.
Okay. See, again, according to IMDb, which is a correct source that doesn't
No.
have some crazy community of Snyder bots working on it, it's Rebel Moon : part 1 M dash A Child of Fire.
Nope. That's not how it works.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
That's not how it works. I'm just warning you. It's not how it works.
Could his name be like Michelle, possibly, instead of Michael or Mikhail?
It could be Michelle.
It could be Michelle.
I could see it. I'm fine with saying that it could go either way.
On Rotten Tomatoes, it's Rebel Moon : part 1 dash A Child of Fire.
Right, but that's not Wikipedia.
Right. But
Right.
why is Wikipedia the best source?
Zach, we've done an entire podcast.
No,
on
No,
this.
we haven't. We haven't. We've talked about why you use Wikipedia over IMDb. I'm
because it's
saying
better.
But,
I'm talking about Rotten Tomatoes right now. Why
It's
is
better than
Wikipedia
Rotten
the pre-
Tomatoes. Who goes to Rotten Tomatoes for their movie information?
No,
You
for
go
the
to Rotten
correct
Tomatoes
title?
for one reason, that little percentage. That's it. Not for movie title accuracy.
Okay, so I'm just going to throw fuel on the fire here. On
Okay.
Netflix, it's Rebel Moon: The Long Dash, Part 1 :
It's
A
called
Child
an
of
M
Fire.
dash.
M dash, whatever you want to call it.
Just
So-
like Wikipedia has it.
I know, but
So which one is correct? The actual platform that put it out or IMDb?
Did Wikipedia put it out?
I'm saying
no,
Wikipedia followed the format of what
Netflix.
Netflix put out.
I don't know its truth anymore.
No, the thing is, I would believe Netflix over either Wikipedia or IMDb.
But
Well,
the point is, Wikipedia had
matches
it right
Wikipedia.
and IMDb had it wrong.
No, that's
So
not the
maybe
point.
from now on,
No.
you should trust Wikipedia more.
No, that's not the point. The point is, you were saying Wikipedia is like the ultimate authority. When I say another site, perhaps Netflix would be a higher authority.
I'm saying when it comes to movie titles, I don't even need to check the source. I don't even need to go to Netflix. I already know it's right. There's no purpose to go anywhere else but Wikipedia because they're going to be right.
You know that it's a good movie when we just spend 10 minutes discussing the punctuation of it beforehand. You're just in for a real love fest.
Absolutely. Yep. Does anybody remember the plot synopsis I read? Should I read it again? 'Cause I'm pretty sure Kyle was reaching the
Yeah,
title
I mean,
when I read
you
it.
could read it again, but what's the point?
Okay. So Rebel Moon or Rebel Moon, however you want to say it. Biopic. Pick one. This is a movie about some settlers on a moon who are harvesting it or growing crops on it. And this big bad empire
Imperium is not an empire.
I said empire
Okay.
which is
That's been
which-
trademarked.
Should we have to reference everything as if it was Star Wars and call it Star Wars as we go? This
Yeah.
would be an hour long if we did that. Yeah, so this overlordy organization shows up and wants to take all their crops, and then they form a rebellion. Right? Do they
On
call
the
it a
moon.
rebellion? Or did they
Well,
just say we're all rebels?
they go, okay, just stop me when you've heard this before. A simple farmer with a mysterious past travels to the big city and teams up with a charming smuggler to find a rebel leader.
Sure. I mean, there's more complications than that, but
Are there
that
really?
is a part of the story for sure. I will agree.
The-
Yeah, I mean, this movie
Then
has.
they assemble 7, I don't know, samurai? No, they can't call them that.
Was there actually 7 of them?
No,
I think there was less.
there was like,
maybe
there was like,
five?
there might have been.
there was like
Now that I
4 or
think
5
about
of
it.
them.
There's more than 4.
There
There's
may
the
have been
general-
7 if you include the smuggler.
Yeah, there's the girl, the harvester, the smuggler, the 2 pilots, the spider lady.
The lady who fought the spider. You mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's 6.
the
Is there a
general.
7th? Yeah.
The
and then,
general.
what about the guy that rode the
I think
chimera?
there's 7.
Yeah. So they get like a group of 7 people together
Mhm.
to defend their small village. I mean, there's no beating around the bush. This movie just cribs from so many other movies.
No, just 1.
Really? I mean,
I'm joking. I'm joking.
yeah. But it's not in an original or interesting way. It's just
Sure.
like it feels like it took all these like famous movies and their tropes and threw it in a blender and poorly mixed them up, like put it on like chunky setting. So you know, like they're even like cohesive, and then spit out this script. And you're kind of like, yeah, I mean, I'm getting Star Wars, I'm getting Dune, I'm getting, and when they go to the big city, there's people with like the clear umbrellas, like in Blade Runner, right? I'm getting 7 Samurai, I'm getting all these movies, but I'm not getting anything interesting from them. It's just sort of the same beats that we've seen done in better movies that this movie is borrowing from or copying from.
Mhm.
And I don't know, like this whole thing just felt so uninspired to me. And then you get Zack Snyder action sequences, which like 1 or 2 is cool. Like the first one where she's in the barn. And by the way, that whole barn sequence, the lead up to it was just so upsetting. And it was very much the trope of like, let's have someone be assaulted just so we can have someone come save the day. Like there's other ways they could have done it, but they went right for like, what's the easy way? Oh, we'll make it an assault and then we'll have the day be saved. And anyway, that first fight sequence, like, oh yeah, this is the Zack Snyder style of like speed ramping and slow-mo, and that's cool, whatever. And then by like the 8th fight, I'm over it.
Mhm.
Because I don't know. It feels like all he has is a hammer, so everything's a nail.
Sure. Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, there was a lot of deja vu happening while I watched this movie, just because it's like just constant references to stuff that I like, but for some reason, this combination of it just felt less inspired by and more just like, oh, people like these things, so we'll just put it in there.
Right.
Type of thing. That's the vibe I got whenever it felt like they were referencing something. Didn't feel like an homage or like an expansion of the idea. It was just like, yeah, I mean, we got to have swords. They got to light up, right? I mean, that's what they do in these movies. So what are we going to call them? Well, we can't call them lightsabers. So what do we? I don't remember. Did they even name those? I think they steered clear of naming the lightsabers.
They never named them. I don't know if they named the characters. I can't tell you a single character's name in this movie. Like I think Gunner. It was Cora and Gunner. And then
Sure.
like was it General Titus, or is that just another movie altogether?
I don't remember.
No, he had a name for sure.
Yeah, but like the movie didn't care about these characters. Like we met them, they had an action sequence, and they joined the team because they were asked to.
Mhm.
And like I know nothing about the spider fighting lady. I guess Jamin Hansu's character has a little backstory, but we're gonna save that for part 2, I guess. Like these characters were so inconsequential. They just were cool. So they were in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, well, you just described Zack Snyder's entire career, though. Right? I mean,
True.
And sometimes it's worked, and a lot of times recently it hasn't. And so that's kind of his MO. I also felt constantly that it was clear to me that this was somebody trying to make a Star Wars movie, which Kyle told us before we watched the movie that evidently he pitched to Lucasfilm a Star Wars idea and they turned him down or something like that.
Yeah. Can you
Is that the
imagine
story?
him going to like Star Wars, you know, or Kathleen Kennedy and be like, okay, I got this movie idea for universe. Like, okay, let's hear it. Like, all right, we start on a farming planet, the evil empire. They're like, we've made this movie already, Zach. Like, you
Right.
can't just remake A New Hope.
And then a young girl gets assaulted in a barn, and they're like,
Right.
wait. This is Star Wars, all right? Nobody's getting assaulted in a barn.
You guys know what Star Wars is missing?
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Um,
Zach, I feel like James and I have been very clear on this, so please tell us why you love this movie.
This movie was awesome. No, it wasn't awesome. Man, I just did not care about any of the characters at all. Maybe if I cared about, if it was interested in any of them, it was like the main Nazi bad guy that we meet at first, just because he's interesting. Yeah, obviously you don't like him, but
Was he literally just in like Nazi regalia without the swastika? Like, did they just go to like a
It was
period
really
piece and
close.
take his outfit?
what really bothered me was in the last half of the movie, he's wearing a tie. Like he just has like suspenders and a black tie.
like
And-
a skinhead.
Well, there's just I couldn't think of a reason why they have like Western Earth male fashion in this universe. Like, why is he wearing a tie? It's such a strange fashion evolution in our own world. And they just have ties there. I don't know. It seems so out of place that he's just looks like he's an American.
Hey, you have to dress down when you're in the office. Like when
I just
you're
don't
out on
understand.
patrol, you got to wear the full.
I mean, yeah, he's wearing the fascist, costume, and then he has a tie. I couldn't get behind that. But the main girl, Cora, I think is her name. Just I don't know. I didn't like the casting because right off the bat, she just does not seem like she fits. Like she just doesn't. I don't know, she seems out of place in every scene. And then the one guy who was really cool was the head of the village. He looked great. I would watch a whole movie with him.
Oh, of course.
He kind of looked like Hugh Jackman to me, like playing a character actor.
I didn't have a problem
And-
with him. It was just, why are there Vikings in the Star Wars movie? That was my big issue.
Viking
I
farmers.
was cool with it. Oh yeah, like listening to Celtic music. Like it was so this world.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. It should be just totally foreign. I don't know.
It felt to me like somebody, again, who wrote a Star Wars script, got turned down and said, okay, I'll just change a few things. And then it won't be a Star Wars script anymore. But it was still a Star Wars script.
Right.
But yeah, they formed this ragtag group of like experts in their individual little niches, and I just didn't care about any of them.
But like, what were their expertises besides fighting? Like,
Well, they
everyone was a
explicitly-
fighter.
The general.
They explicitly
I
talk
don't-
about it. They're like, "Oh, you think I wouldn't want to hear about like the greatest general of all time matching up with the greatest fighter of all time?" It was like so silly.
Oh yeah,
Like we're just told that he's the greatest general. We're told that
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's and there are interesting characters I did care about, which got no airtime or screen time. So like, we got this crazy Spider Woman, who's, and I shouldn't say crazy. She's not crazy. Just just the idea of like, it's like a spider centaur, right? And like, I thought she was a super interesting design, and for what little backstory we get, she's like stealing kids because the whatever he's called, the humans have poisoned her planets and killed all her children. So she's going to take children back. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then she just gets killed. Like,
She looks like Sigourney Weaver to me. I was really
Okay.
surprised that it wasn't Sigourney Weaver.
okay, yeah. She kind of looked like the Borg queen to me from Star Trek.
Sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. Go ahead.
One thing that really bothered me was the inconsistency of weapon damage. Like, so for instance, in that first fight you said in the barn or whatever, she's got this like blaster gun and she's literally shooting guys point blank in the face. And then you see him land and there's just like no surface damage whatsoever. And then other times she's shooting people in the chest and there's like a hole, a fiery hole in their chest.
Mhm.
And there's just like zero consistency of like, what do these guns do? Like, do they have any power at all? Then that guy doesn't have a head, you know?
Yeah, I think the PG-13 was a disservice to this movie because it's pretty violent. Like, there's laser swords, there's a lot of people being shot at close range, like you said. And right, you're watching people get stabbed and there's no blood. People are getting shot in the head's still there. I think this movie would have been better rated R. At least it would have been more visually interesting and consistent, like, which obviously bothered you.
Well, I think Zack Snyder he occasionally leans on violence, and it was clear to me that he wanted to make an R-rated movie.
Right.
And they just either he did it and then they what do they do? What do you call that? After the fact, they
Like
eliminated all the stuff that would have
in
made it
post?
R. Yeah. Or he tried to go up to the line so much that it felt like he was holding back at times, when clearly, logically, there should be a next step to some of these kills and sequences and stuff like that. My favorite character in the whole movie, the one that intrigued me the most, the robot that was
The
like
robot.
barely on screen.
Yes.
And they've kind of set up, spoiler alert, that the robot might be a bigger part in part 2. But man, they really did not utilize him much in part 1. And he was the most interesting thing about the whole movie, in my opinion.
Is it just me, or if you were like in this army, this fascist army, or whatever, that you wouldn't just willy-nilly shoot your like robot that moves things around for you?
Your own robot?
It just, yeah, it seems crazy to me.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely like a goon squad. They were all
Oh,
violent
yeah.
sociopaths.
Were they
but-
clones of each other? They all looked alike.
No, I don't think they were clones.
They're Germans.
Like the one guy that like slightly outranked the other guy, they honestly looked like the same guy to me. I couldn't tell them apart.
They had different
Well,
color hair.
They all had buzz cuts and
Yeah.
yeah. I agree.
Okay.
They just look like generic white guys, I would say, with buzz
But, like,
cuts.
We also get kind of like this young man soldier who's with the group. And I thought he was going to be a more important part of the movie. And after that opening scene, he's gone. There's nothing happens with him. Like, he doesn't, spoiler,
Yeah.
he doesn't join them. Like,
He'll be back.
will he? I mean, I guess so, but
Why didn't they have him join them though? He can be one of the 7.
it would have been so natural of like, oh yeah, here's the good-hearted trooper who changed and who didn't want to be a part of this in the first place.
Yeah, that's never been done in a Star Wars movie before.
Yeah. This is John Boyega, whatever his character. Finn.
Right.
Here's our Finn
Finn.
character right here. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Plus, they like took out the entire, like what was that thing called? A dreadnought, or what was it? The big
Mhm.
ship. They took out the entire ship by just killing the pilot. Like, there's no safety protocols on this thing at all.
No, was that the entire ship or was that some attack ship?
I
No,
thought
that was
the
his
entire
ship. That was the main guy's ship.
I thought it was a smaller attack ship.
Thought that was the mother voice or whatever they called it.
The
The voice
The
of
king's voice.
the king's voice.
the
or
King's
something, yeah.
the King's gaze.
King's gaze, yeah.
King's gaze. I must have been so checked out by that point that I didn't even know they clock what. Like, oh, is this some random ship where apparently you can break the piece of glass that protects you from space? A spear can break it, and
And there's just like one guy right in the front there. And if you get him, there's no safety protocol at all from getting this massive $1 trillion ship from just falling.
Yeah, it just falls from the atmosphere.
Yeah.
No problem.
And then, I mean, do you guys, again, this is a spoiler, but we don't care. Do you guys care that our jackbooted bad guys coming back? Like all of a sudden?
I mean, I didn't necessarily like him, but I like the idea of a consistent villain through however many of these we're going to get. I think just 2 for now, depending on how the viewership is. But we're definitely going to get him in part 2. I just don't want a bunch of characters to be introduced in part 2 as well. I'd rather it just be the characters we got, maybe make some of them more interesting and give us, some settings and visuals that don't feel like they're from other movies. But
I'd be fine with all new characters. They can start over.
I think they've set the groundwork for like more. So I think some of these characters can grow into the role, but I think they maybe set too much to do in the first movie.
Yeah.
Which ones are going to die in the second movie?
Most of them.
Definitely Laser Sword Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's going to have an epic death. Yeah, I think
the general will.
Yep. Who's alive? I don't even know who's on the team. Who was the guy who was riding the Griffin or whatever? The like, why was he important?
Oh, what was his name? Like Talek or something?
Sure. I thought it was Derek, but I knew it wasn't Derek because that's a really boring name.
Okay, I forgot about that whole thing. So there's a slaver.
Yeah.
He has this guy who's, I guess, is a prince of somewhere.
Someone calls him Prince at some point.
Yeah.
A prince whose entire like people has already died.
Yeah. He enslaves him. These 2 randos show up and want to talk to him. And this slaver who has this amazing slave, like this slave is just like can do anything, right?
He's a blacksmith. He's like
These 2 randos show up, and so he makes a deal where he'll give up his slave, or his slave will be killed, just to get these 2 rando slaves that like are probably not nearly as good of slaves as the one he has. Makes no sense. And the deal he makes is, I think you can't tame this. I think this beast will kill my good slave. You know what I mean? And if you think you can ride him and break him, then go for it. And the Talek or whatever his name is speaks English to the bird.
Not English. He was speaking whatever his tongue was.
Okay, whatever his tongue
was subtitled.
Speaks it to the bird. And the bird and him just reach an understanding that they have shared feelings because the bird understands him. So it's a smart bird that speaks his language and shares his emotions. And then they still tries to kill him while they're riding, but like not that hard. And then they ride him. And then the slaver thinks, well, okay, this one guy rode him once, so it's now totally safe. And he just jumps on and gets killed. It's so inane.
Right. And like either you're going to lose your slave because he's going to successfully break this thing, or you're going to lose your slave because he's going to get killed by this thing. Like it's a lose-lose for you. I don't understand.
For sure.
Yeah.
Just the whole sequence itself, for some reason, like the weird condor, giant bird, dinosaur thing that they had going on. I was just like, this looks like the first pass on a Star Wars beast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like somebody was like, yeah, that's good. All right, let's move on. When it was like, okay, maybe let's try something.
I kind of feel like every Star Wars beast is a first pass, though.
No. No way.
You think a lot of those creatures like they show, they're like really thought through, or it's just like, okay, this one kind of has like a fly nose. This one is kind of hairy. This one has big eyes and you know,
this one's a werewolf mask.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, a werewolf mask.
I'm not saying that hasn't happened in Star Wars, but and also I grew up on those movies, so the first time I ever saw a werewolf mask was in a Star Wars movie. You know what I mean? So it didn't feel like copying anything to me. I understand the werewolf mask is about as bad as it gets for Star Wars, but But no, I don't think like Wampas and the Sarlacc pit. I mean, these are things that were taken from fantasy books that George Lucas read when he was younger. And a lot were stole from like John Carter books.
John Carter,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. And so certainly Lucas was one of the first people to take those ideas and put them on screen. And so I think maybe the difference is taking something that's not popular and putting it on screen, or making it your own, versus like something that's incredibly popular and then trying to put it on screen and not making it your own. But the Condor thing isn't even a Star Wars thing. Like, what is that even from?
It looked very Dungeons and Dragons to me.
Right.
Like this kind of winged bird beak. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole movie to me was kind of like, hey, do you like Star Wars, but you also really like violence? Well, here's your version of Star Wars. But also it'll be PG-13, so we won't go too far on the violence. But we'll really heavily imply that this is way more violent than a Star Wars movie. And I was just kind of like, I want my Star Wars movies to be fun. I'm not looking for violence in my Star Wars movies. I just wanted it to be fun. If that happens to be blasters and stuff like that, great. But it's not really about that. But I feel like to Zack Snyder, it's all about that for the most part with most of his movies.
And how much can we just slow down and focus on the violence?
Right. And like with 300, totally works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that movie is all about violence. And like the way he films that movie, it's kind of beautiful, even though it's super violent. If you've ever seen Sucker Punch, it's all about girls being violent, I would say. Women being violent and I don't know, getting turned on by that or something like that. And so yeah, it's just it's a thread in his career and it's fine, but I think maybe I'm over it unless he does it to an appropriate property like a 300.
Yeah, I would say I am not excited for Zack Snyder movies in general.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm always weirdly excited just because Dawn of the Dead was so good. Like the first
was really good.
His Dawn of the Dead remake, his first film is really good.
Okay,
Totally agree.
Okay,
super fun, violent, but like not weird violent, just expected violent, I would say.
Good satire.
Yeah, good satire. Then 300 came out and it was like, okay, this is also weird, but had a style to it, a look and a feel. And Watchmen, I still like.
I like Watchmen.
But anything past that I'm just kind of like, all right, you're missing the mark for me on most of these. All right, anything else with Rebel Moon?
I have two quick things.
Sure.
This is the 5th part 1 movie that we've watched this year.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah,
what are the
I'm
other
not
4?
joking. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Fast
part
X.
1 of whatever, not part 1 of 5. For some reason, I thought you were saying this was the 5th part 1 of 5.
No. This is the 5th part 1 movie we've seen this year.
Sure.
Yeah. Which I think that's crazy. I don't know how many other years I can think of where movies have come out when they're like, obviously movies have sequels, but like all these movies that came out were very clear. This is the first part of the story. They're,
sure.
So, and then the other thing was the Michael Huisman.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching this movie and I'm like, oh, he looks really familiar. So I pulled up IMDb and he played Dario Naharis on Game of Thrones. He played the second one. And then as I was watching the movie, I'm like, oh man, and this not Nazi commander looks really familiar. He was the first Dario Naharis on Game of Thrones because that character got recast between seasons.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, there's 2 Dario Naharises in this movie together. That's crazy.
Interesting.
What character was that?
Dario Naharis was one of the advisors to Daenerys when she was in Marine. Like he was one of the whatever sellsword fighters that would fight for her. that was recast between seasons.
He's not the one with like the blue hair, is he?
He's the one with the blue. Yeah, in the books, he has the blue hair.
Okay. Gotcha.
In the movies, he looks, or the TV shows, he looks like either of those guys. He's pretty normal looking, which I thought was unfortunate.
All right, Letterboxd.
That was one. Didn't you have two?
Yeah, well, no, the first one was that this is the 5th part 1 movie we've seen.
Oh, okay. But what other movies? There was
Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
Right.
Fast X
10. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Mission Impossible.
Okay.
Oh.
This. So that's
this. I'm missing. What's the last one?
4. I don't know.
I'll think of it.
Dial of
I can't.
Destiny. Part 1.
No, not Dial of Destiny. I'll think of it. It'll come to me.
Okay. Let's letterbox Rebel Moon M- Part 1: A Child of Fire. What'd you guys give it out of 5 stars?
1.5.
2 stars.
I will also give it 2 stars. 1.5 and 2 2-star rankings for Rebel Moon M- Part 1: A Child of Fire. Let us know what you thought about the movie. If you think we're way off base and Zack Snyder is the savior of streaming, please let us know. Hey guys at Cinereelists.com. REEL with an S on the end. Also, don't forget, there's a video version of this podcast on YouTube. Watch while you listen. Support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Leave us an Apple Podcast review. We'd appreciate that. 5 stars only. Or you can follow us on social media on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram at Cinereelists. Or you can follow me on my personal Twitter or Letterboxd account at EOJRB.
Follow me on Twitter or Letterboxd at Shaban.
You can find me on Letterboxd at Peter SKB. And the 5th movie that was a part 1 this year was D'Artagnan, The Three Musketeers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Out of all those movies, which one are you most excited for part 2 on?
Me personally?
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man, for sure.
Probably Spider-Man. But a close second would be D'Artagnan. I want more of that.
That's my second. I'm actually...
Then Mission Impossible. I just want to see how it
Impossible.
ends.
Yep.
As bad as I thought part 1 was, I do want to see how it ends.
Then Fast X.
Yeah.
And then this one.
I kind of feel like Fast X is already over. Like I don't even remember where they were in the story, to be honest.
A dam broke and water was rushing towards Dom and his son Brian. No, Brian? Yeah.
Did he name his
son's
son Brian?
Yes.
Is that weird?
It's weirder if he named the son Paul.
That's true.
And Brian's supposedly still alive.
Yeah, that's
Why
a good
would
point. That's right.
Right.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Wouldn't Brian be a little weirded out? Is it weird to name your kid after your friend?
I don't think so. Like
No.
if I had named my son Zach in honor of Zach, I don't think Zach would have been weirded out by it.
No, it would have been awesome.
Yeah.
I would have preferred it.
That wouldn't have weirded you out if it's one thing to name it's one thing for Kyle to name Zach, right? Because he likes the name. That's fine. But if he's like, I named him Zach, because it's in honor of you.
No, hold on.
If I say it that way,
That's
It would-
creepy.
I think it'd be weirder if he just did it like, oh, I like the name. It has nothing to do with you. That would be weirder to
right?
me.
Yeah.
No, he likes the name because you have it. He likes you. That's very different than I named him in honor of you.
I don't know. If I said
That's
like
pretty
if
cool.
I said to Zach, oh hey, here's my son, and Zach's like, oh, what's his name? I'm like, oh, it's Zach, and Zach's like, oh, it's just like my name. I'm like, oh, I never put that together. Like that would be weird.
Well, that would make you a liar because
it never crossed my
put it
mind
together.
that you guys have the same name.
I'm not saying you have to ignore the reality of the situation. I'm saying there's a big difference between naming the kid Zach because you like the name and naming the kid Zach because you like Zach. And Zach's name could have been Chadsworth. You would have named him Chadsworth or whatever.
What's the weirdness there? I think it's an honor, right? You're
The
like,
weirdness
I
is
respect
naming
you
your
so
kid
much.
after somebody who's like not a family member. That's not what people do.
If Zach had saved my life in the amount of times
Right.
that Brian had saved Dom's life, it might be a different story.
Yeah. Like
Like,
James, would
sure.
it be
They are
weird if
family.
you saved their life? And so you name your kid after them?
You didn't save Kyle's life though. He didn't name his kid after you.
No, I'm saying like
Brian saved
the argument
Dom's
for
life.
Brian and Dom is the connection they have
In the
family.
Furious universe, I'll accept that it's okay. Although if I was Brian, I'd still be like, dude, there's so many names. Like Brian.
So you see it as a bad thing. You're like, it's an insult to name someone after
Not an insult. It's just
your
Brian
friend.
is such a milquetoast name. Don't name your kid that. So boring.
If I was Brian, I'd be like, hey guys, why can't I come to the mission? Like, you guys stay home with the kid. And I'd be like, but Dom, you bring your kid all the time. Like, no, Brian, you gotta stay home with the kid, okay?
Right.
You can't.
In fact,
you can't
never
join
come
us.
with us again. You can't be in any more movies.
I think Brian's a good name.
But is your wife available? Because we could use her help. But you stay home with
Brian's
the
a
kid,
perfectly fine name. But also that's the problem. It's just a perfectly fine name. There's nothing special about it at all. It's a perfectly fine name. It's like James. Perfectly fine name. Not an exceptional name. It's just a normal name.
okay? James, of the three of us, which one of us has the most exceptional name? Of the three of us.
Zach
which
does
has-
because I named my son after him.
See, you named your son after me.
Yeah, 10 years before I met you.
Yeah. And I'm honored. Truly honored.
You guys both have similar. You end yours with an I, right?
with an
What?
I.
Your full name, Zachary.
No, with a
No.
Y.
Oh, okay, then it's different.
So-
Mine ends with an I. My son's
Re-
ends with an I.
Really?
Yeah, Zachari.
Like on his birth certificate is with an I?
100% on his birth certificate.
Why? I mean, I really want to. I've never.
That was
seen
the
Zachary-
agreement that him and his mother, that I and his mother.
Oh,
came
okay,
up with.
like your 1 day old had a say in this.
He introduced himself as it's Zachary rhymes with daiquiri.
Right, exactly.
Okay, if I'm digging too deep, you can just cut me off.
No, it's fine.
Did the mother want the I and you acquiesced?
I don't remember exactly how it happened, but she definitely made all the naming suggestions.
Okay.
And then we whittled it down to Zachary, middle name, which I'm not going to give
That's
my
fine.
last name. Zachary with an I.
With an I.
And I was
okay.
fine with that. I was
Taylor
like, I was like,
Thomas.
cool. We came up with a name together. It's all good.
I hope his middle name is Daiquiri. He's Zachary Daiquiri.
No, but that would be amazing.
Last name Doc.
Yeah.
Zachary Daiquiri Doc.
All right. I feel like we've gone off the rails a little
Yeah,
bit.
I
here.
think we could call it.
This is literally the end of the podcast. Next week, we are going to discuss probably the movie Poor Things, which is in movie theaters now. That's the new Yorgos Lanthimos movie starring Emma
Stone.
Stone. I was going to say Stone, but that felt wrong. I don't know why. And also Hulk. What's his name?
Edward Norton.
No, the other Hulk.
Colin. Eric Banana.
No, the other Hulk.
Lou Ferrigno.
Frigno? No.
Okay. Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo. Yeah, Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo just got like an Emmy nomination for it. So evidently he's good.
An
at
Emmy
least-
for Poor Things.
Yeah. Or not an Emmy,
A
whatever
Golden
they call
Globe.
it. Golden Globe.
Oh yeah, the one that
Golden Globe.
matters.
Yeah, the most important award in Hollywood. Yeah, so we're probably gonna watch Poor Things and or we're gonna watch Maestro on Netflix. So if you want to do a little pre-watching, do one or two of those, and you'll have a decent shot at having watched the movie we're gonna discuss on next week's episode. You are more than likely listening to this on the 31st or the 1st or a few days after, and so we say Happy New Year's to you.
Happy
And
birthday, Megan.
happy birthday, Megan. We say that too. And also, we'll be back after our next episode with our top 20 of 2023. And we'd like to know, as a listener, what your top 20 of 2023 was. Please send it to us at heyguys@cinereelists.com, and we'll include it in our listener collaboration list. So, with all that being said, you got a lot of homework to do. Get to it. We'll see you next time. Until then, keep it cinereal.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.